everyone, today I'll be going over solving quadratics by completing the square. So in order to find C is b over 2 squared. And some things you want to remember, you want to always factor the GCF first. And we have to make sure a is 1. So if a is not 1 in your problem, you'll have to factor out whatever number a is first. Okay, so in these first examples, we want to find the value of c that makes the expression a perfect square. So we'll just be using this equation up here. So all equations are in standard form, so ax squared plus bx plus c. So the only number that we really need to look at in these problems is b, and we just have to make sure that a is 1. So c would equal 12 over 2 squared, which is 6 squared, which is 36. Number 2, we have negative 16 for b, so that's negative 16 over 2 squared. That's negative 8 squared, which is 64. Okay, for 3, b is 24, so c would equal 24 over 2 squared. That's going to be 12 squared, which is 144. And then for 4, b is negative 36. So we get negative 18 squared, which is 324. Okay, next we want to solve by finding square roots. So this part here is already a perfect square, and this is one of those special cases when factoring. This is a perfect square trinomial. So this will factor into x plus 5 squared, and that's going to equal 64. So to use square roots, we're going to square root both sides. So that's x plus 5 equals plus minus 8. And then we'll have to subtract 5. So x equals negative 5 plus minus 8. And then you'll have to find each one. So the first one is adding 8, and then the second one is subtracting 8. So negative 5 plus 8 is 3, and negative 5 minus 8 is negative 13. Okay, next one. Again, this is already a perfect square trinomial. So that's going to factor into x minus 9 squared equals 5. And then we're going to square root both sides. So we get x minus 9 equals plus minus square root of 5. And then to get x by itself, we're going to add 9. So x equals 9 plus minus square root of 5. Okay, next one, we have 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. This here, oops, I should have used purple. This here is a perfect square trinomial, so that's 2x plus 1 squared, and that equals 75. Then we're going to square root both sides. So we get 2x plus 1 equals plus minus, I'm going to simplify this on this side here. So 75 breaks up into 25 and 3, and 25 is 5 and 5. So this pair will come out and the 3 will stay inside. So that's plus minus 5 rad 3. Then we're going to subtract 1. So 2x equals negative 1 plus minus 5 rad 3, and divide by 2. So our final answer would be x equals negative 1 plus minus 5 rad 3 over 2. Okay, next one. Again, this is a perfect square. So this is 3x plus 4 squared, and that equals negative 2. So to solve it, we're going to square root both sides. So we get 3x plus 4 equals plus minus I rad 2. So I rewrote this as I rad 2 because negative 2 we can rewrite as radical negative 1 times radical 2. And rad 1 is I. Okay, so then we're going to subtract 4. We get 3x equals negative 4 plus minus I rad 2. And then divide by 3. So then we get x equals negative 4 plus minus I rad 2 over 3. Okay, next we want to solve by completing the square. So I always want to keep the first two terms, and I always want to move the c value to the other side. So I'm going to add 3. So then that's x squared plus 6x. And then I'm going to figure out what c value I want to add here. And I have to make sure I add that to both sides. So that's going to be b over 2 squared. So that's 3 squared, which is 9. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. And then this part here is a perfect square trinomial. And when we factor this, it'll always match whatever we got here. So this would be x, oh, hold on, I should do this in white. This would be x plus 3 squared. And that'll be equal 3 plus 9, which is 12. So this number will always match this number here. Okay, then to solve, we're going to square root both sides. So we get x plus 3 equals plus minus, I'm going to simplify that on the side. So 12 is 4 and 3, 4 is 2 and 2. So this will come out, this will stay inside. So that is 2 rad 3. Then I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. So I get x equals negative 3 plus minus 2 rad 3. Okay, number 10, we have x squared minus 18x minus 86. So I'm first going to subtract the 86. So I get negative x squared minus 18x plus something will equal negative 86 plus something. So to find that number, that would be negative 18 over 2 squared. Actually, I'm going to write this underneath. Okay, so then that would be negative 9 squared, which is 81. So that means I'm going to add 81 to both sides. Okay, so then this side will factor into x minus 9 squared, and that will equal negative 5. So then to solve, I'm going to square root both sides. So x minus 9 equals plus minus I rad 5. And then we're going to add 9. So we get x equals 9 plus minus I rad 5. Okay, the next one we have 2x squared plus 16x minus 12. So we already have the c value that was given on the other side, so we don't have to do anything. But we do want to first factor out the 2 because completing the square only works if if a is 1. Okay, so from here we can actually divide by 2 to get rid of that 2. So that would be x squared plus 8x plus something will equal negative 6 plus something. So this is going to be 8 over 2 squared, which is 4 squared, which is 16. So we're going to add 16 to both sides. Okay, so that will factor into x plus 4 squared equals 10. And then we're going to square root both sides. So x plus 4 equals plus minus square root of 10. Since 10 only breaks up into 2 and 5, we don't have to simplify anymore. And then we're going to subtract 4. So x equals negative 4 plus minus square root of 10. Okay, then for the next one, we have 7x squared plus 20x equals 56. So I'm going to first move the 56 over because I don't want it on this side. So we get 7x squared plus 20x equals negative 56. And I want a to be 1, so I'm going to factor out the 7. And I'm going to divide everything by 7. So we're left with x squared plus 20x. And then this is where I'm going to complete the square. Equals negative 8. So then, oh, oops, sorry. I forgot to divide this by 7. Okay, so this should be 4. Okay, so the equation would be 4 over 2 squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. And then when we factor, this would become x plus 2 squared equals negative 4. Then we're going to square root both sides. So x plus 2 equals plus minus 2i, because the square root of negative 1 is I, and the square root of 4 is 2. Then the last step is to subtract 2. So then we get x equals negative 2 plus minus 2i. Okay, the last section is to write the quadratic function in vertex form, and then we want to identify the vertex. So it's kind of similar to completing the square, or okay, we'll just go through it. Okay, so we're just gonna look at these two first, and we're gonna complete the square here. So we get y equals x squared minus 4x plus something minus 1. And since we added something, like we're going to add a number here in purple, that means we'll have to also subtract it on the end. Or if you want, you can also just add it to the other side where y is. So you could do y and then plus the number. So that balances out. We'll do it that way. And then we'll just move that number to the other side. Okay, so to find this number, that would be negative 4 over 2 squared. So that's negative 2 squared, which is 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we get y plus 4 equals, and then that will factor into x minus 2 squared minus 1. Then we want to get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 4. So we get y equals x minus 2 squared minus 5. So that means the vertex is 2, negative 5. Okay, next one. So again, we're looking at just these two, and we're kind of ignoring the 90 for now. Or if it helps, you could also move the 90 to the other side. Okay, so that'll be y equals x squared plus 20x. Sorry, I forgot to leave space, because we're going to add a number here. Okay, plus something plus 90. So that would be 20 over 2 squared, which is 10 squared, which is 100. So we're going to add 100 to both sides. So we get y plus 100 equals x plus 10 squared plus 90. And then we just have to get y by itself. So we get y equals x plus 10 squared minus 10. So that means the vertex is negative 10, negative 10. Okay, next we have 2x squared plus 24 plus 25. So again, we're looking at just this part first. And I'm just going to rewrite it as y because f of x is y. So a has to be 1, so I'm only going to factor it out of the purple part. Hold on, let me leave some space. Okay, so to figure out the number that we're adding, that would be 12 over 2 squared, which is 6 squared, which is 36. So that means there would be a 36 here. But we're actually adding 36 times 2 since we factored out that 2. So that means we will be adding 72 on the other side. So let me say that again. Since our c value is 36, but we factored out this 2 here, so that means we have to multiply it by whatever c value we added. So 2 times 36, which will give us 72, and that's what I added on the other side. Okay, so we get y plus 72 equals 2 times x plus 6 squared plus 25. So then I'm going to subtract 72 on both sides. So we get y equals 2 times x plus 6 squared minus 47. So that means the vertex is the point -6, -47. Okay, last one. So we have g of x equals 5x squared plus 10x plus 7. So I'm just going to rewrite g of x as y again. And then we're going to add a number here. So we will want to factor out a 5 from the first two terms. So that'll be x squared plus 2x, and then plus something, plus 7. So that's going to be 2 over 2 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. So we're going to add 1 here, but we're really adding 1 times 5, which is 5. So that's going to be y plus 5 equals 5 times x plus 1 squared plus 7. Then we're going to subtract 5. So we get y equals 5 times x plus 1 squared plus 2. So the vertex is at -1, 2. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you understand how to solve by completing the square and finding